You're listening to another episode of Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. This is a place where we're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
Well, hi, how y'all doing? I'm tired today. I got Victoria Johnson. Are you tired too after a long meeting last night?
Well, I always get energized when I come talk to you, though.
Yes. Well, the lights come on, the mics come on.
And we're live.
You get adrenaline. You're live, Well, no, we got some things to talk about from the meeting and whatnot, and we have, some cleanup on aisle 3 on one of my last shows I had with the mayor, because I misspoke or misunderstood maybe, but whatever. And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about parks, which is near and dear to your heart.
It is.
Yes, and you apparently made some interesting decisions about Oak Valley.
Yeah.
And then one more thing. At the end, we're going to talk about what the mayor referred to at the very end of the meeting, which is concerns about we having more and more people in our streets, homeless, whatnot. Mm-hmm. We can talk about that issue because that's a tough issue. There's a lot of different things to consider, but we'll talk about that at the end. Also, I want to make a big announcement. Starting next Thursday, 2 days, BISD is going to have a monthly show on here.
I saw that post yesterday. That's exciting.
Yeah, Stacy Eisner will probably be here. She's going to do everything she can, but we're going to have representatives from the school district coming in.
That's awesome.
Michaela Hill will be on it, and then Stacy suggested maybe getting like Brenda Mize, the financial CEO, and maybe the curriculum director, April Shirelli, and maybe this person or that person, those kind of things. Maybe get Scott Sheehy talk about the security issues.
Sure.
But they're going to be on every third Thursday of the month. And I'm just really excited about that.
That's a great
there's just
opportunity for the school district and for people to get an insight.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in there.
Mm-hmm.
They're responsible for so many different aspects of education. What are they learning? How to be ahead of the curve, new and innovative opportunities for the school district, things to challenge students. There's just so much in it. And I know just having 2 kids in the system, this year they had 3 new curriculum brought in, the challenges that puts on teachers and students, and they're still trying to balance, putting together their class and connecting with their students. There's a lot to juggle, and I just have the utmost appreciation for our teachers. And I'm a big fan of BISD. I'm a product of it. So,
well, it's what the problem is. A lot of people get misinformation.
Sure.
Sometimes it's deliberately put out there, but a lot of times it just. I heard somebody say this, and it's that telephone game.
That telephone. I was about to say that.
And pretty soon you heard that we're doing all this stuff in the schools. I mean, all the years I was at BISD, we had that happen all the time.
Sure.
I did somebody ask me at church or at the store or email me and said, "Is it true that blah 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 or this has happened or they're teaching that?" And I said, "No, that's not what's happening."
And their kids come home, right? And you ask them. I asked both my kids. How was your day? And Oliver's. I played.
Yeah.
I'm like, what'd you learn? What's something really cool that you learned today? Science. I'm like, great. What was it about science? Pulling teeth to get any kind of information about what was your day like? What did you learn? What did you work on? What can we support you with at home? And what they hear is always different. It's just it's kind of like the teachers always, I love those teachers that start the beginning of the year with, if you'll only believe half of what you're told, I'll believe half of what I'm told. The kids go back to the school and tell their teachers all kinds of crazy stories as well. So.
Well, you get on Facebook or you get on any of the social media and somebody thinks they know something or has an opinion and it becomes some sort of big deal, and whatever, or they see something on the TV about another school district, and they think it's happening here.
Yes.
I get that question a lot.
Yes.
So we'll be able to answer those questions. And what Stacy had in mind was, she called it like BSD 101, where you would know, okay, who do I contact for this?
Sure.
Who do I contact for that? Here's the link for this, and whatnot.
It's important to know because there's so many employees. I think isn't the school district, I think, one of our largest, or if not the largest employer in the city.
It's the largest public employer. I can only think of maybe Basin Steel might come close, but maybe not. Or the Super Walmart, that might, or Sam's. But in terms of daily employees, it probably is.
I mean, it's such an operation. My kids are in one school and we have all of these recognition days. We really try to show our appreciation for custodial staff, for the cafeteria staff. And it's just like, it's just a machine in there. All the individuals, the paraprofessionals, the teachers, the aides, the diagnosticians, there are so many pieces.
And speaking of machines, I need to provide the opportunity who pay for this machine. This
Let's make your
machine.
plugs.
Yes, CrossFit Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. Daniel Baisden and his crew will take care of you with the workouts. It's a pretty serious workout, but they have trainers. They have supervision. It's clean. It's well lit. It's safe. It's a good place to go work out.
And it's such a family. I've never worked out there, but I have so many friends that do, and it is a network and a family. And I just love watching the support that they give each other on the competitions that they go to, or even the competitions within their facility.
Well, that's actually it's one of the reasons why Daniel bought it several years ago, because he saw this and he wanted to be part of it. And then I guess the owner at that time wanted to do other things or move on. And so Daniel said, I want to keep that community going. And so he's done that. And it's been really good for the community.
Absolutely.
Also, thank you to Shandy Stogsdill and the Stogsdill Group. She's looking for another agent, if that her group. And I guess y'all get a lot of information about real estate on the council and whatnot, and she knows a lot about it. She'd make a great city council person if she was living within the city, but darn it.
She's a wealth of knowledge. She's a cool lady.
Yes, and she comes in once a quarter and spells things out, and she always has her homework done just like she did in school.
Yes, she does.
And so we're not just throwing out I heards or what I think. It's also here's the data to back up what she's talking about. And it's really, really good. And then we have our friends, of course, Otto at our place. We go there quite often. That's what I do with my networking group, BNI. We meet there, individual meetings there.
Sure.
Yeah, because it's about across the street from us, and it's also great food and great service. And speaking of which, Otto and I are sponsoring that election contest we did the last couple of elections. If you put a picture on my page or his page or wherever, it has the I voting sticker or the I vote card or whatever, we'll put you in drawing. We have two $50 gift cards for the two winners.
And early voting is currently underway? Not yet?
Not yet. 24th.
The 24th. Okay.
For 24th, last 2 weeks, October.
Yeah.
And then the day itself. And, people say, oh, you're just trying to get get a Republican voted in. Well, in this county, that ain't hard. And so besides, the point is, I don't care how you vote.
Just vote.
Yeah. Now, you're going to have to tell us how you voted, though.
Oh, okay.
No, I already know.
Do you?
Yes, I do. But anyway, you're eligible. I mean, it's not just for, it's for everybody.
I'll definitely post my photo, but I won't accept any winnings. And I eat there regularly, too. Didn't you see my recent Facebook post with my children climbing all over Philip? They leave me alone, but they have to be all over Dad. And he's like, can I not just eat my breakfast?
Well, I know you go there often for pie and coffee.
Well, okay. We don't have to tell everyone about my pie thing.
Oh, well.
Even when we were leaving the other morning, Audrey was like, Mom, we need that piece of pie. And I was like, no, we don't need the pie.
No, you need the pie. And then our friends over at Wild Cigar and Chris and going on, he's got a really nice place.
It is such a classy place.
He does. People who go there always come away impressed with the kind of atmosphere.
Yes.
Because I don't know what they're expecting. Maybe they see it and they think it's going to be some dark, danky thing.
Yeah,
but no,
maybe.
It's well lit. It's well ventilated. They got a good bar. They got a great humidor. And I tell people, even if you're not a veteran cigar smoker, they got tobacconists. They'll help you figure it out. And
Not fun.
Yeah. So it's a good place. And they have a conference meeting area. So if you want to have business meetings.
That.
Yeah, it's in the back. And it's
cool.
It's
So I can hit up Chris.
It has, I think, about a capacity around 16.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then, of course, you got the patio in the back, so you can do it out there if you want to.
Patio's so nice.
In this weather, it would be. And also gala over at Southern. Oh, I'm sorry. I always skip over Tiffany. Doggone. I got Tiffany Nico, or Tiffany Griffin for those who hadn't been keeping up. But Nico is what she's going by now. And the Local Life magazine is going to be ready in about a few days. It'll be mailed out next week. She was on the show on the 10th, and she just has all these things going on. And I know she does a lot of promotions for the city.
Yes.
And I'm very impressed with her because she just really has all these balls in the air, and she seems to be able to keep them all in the air. So
I agree.
So very impressive.
I agree with that.
So check out locallifetx.com if you don't have the magazine available to you right now, and they'll have all the daily specials and whatnot. And now, Southern Jim, I'm sure Philip is taking you there for Christmas.
No, I've picked something out. We'll see if he gets the hint.
Well, then, if not, then tell him. But that happens a lot, actually, where women will come in and say, I want this, and Gail will make it sure that that message is communicated. I've been hearing it a lot.
The customer service and the way every person that walks in there just feels like you've got their undivided attention. What is it that you're looking for, and how can we make it happen?
Well, Robin's there right now.
Cool.
She works there Oh, 2 to 3 days a week and some Saturdays. And it's dangerous because she's, I love all this. I want to buy it and go, we're trying to, get a profit from this, make a little money here where you work and not just go into debt.
I understand.
It's tough, but what they really do a lot of is repairs. They do a lot of repair work because you get, a hand-me-down ring, grandma's ring, or whatever, or resize rings or whatnot, jewelry, fix the clasp, all these things. Also, Michelle, I'm free. Now, you do hot works, right?
I do. I was there this morning.
Oh, yeah? Which is your favorite?
Probably hot yoga.
Hot yoga. There's like 11 different choices.
There are.
When I first went there a few months ago, just to see what I was talking about, I was impressed. And the one thing is, it's mostly a female clientele, but not always.
Not
so
always.
dudes, Taylor here is a hot works guy, and
Yes, sir.
yeah, and so some people think it's something for like a spa for ladies. It's nothing like that at all.
No, it's a tough workout. It's a lot of holding positions for a long time and good stretching. But no, a couple weeks ago, I did a warrior class with a gentleman, and I don't know if it was just the vibe he was setting off, but he made me push myself. It was the most calories I'd burned in months.
Well, it's also a secure place. I think that should be stressed as well because you have to have a code to get in, or they have to let you in, and so it's pretty safe, very safe. Michelle really knows what she's talking about when
She
it comes to
does.
business.
She'll talk to you about, any kind of if you need to make some alterations or some, make some modifications to how you're working out. She's a wealth of knowledge.
And our friend Melissa Harmon, this is my new agent. This is a new sponsor since the last time. Yeah, since the last time you're here. And she's in that networking group, and I switched most of my insurance, all my insurance really, except the health insurance, which is through TRS. But I have now car and life insurance and house insurance from her, and I upgraded my life insurance quite a bit, which makes me nervous when I say that. Now, Robin is very insistent for some reason. But anyway, call Melissa at 682-804-0534, and she'll look over your insurance. And if she can't save you money, she'll tell you.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Good to know people like that.
Yeah, she's extremely ethical. And lastly, Danette Juster from Pinnacle Concepts at 303-324-9906. She's redesigning the studio. Taylor's got some ideas.
Wow.
So probably the next time you're here,
It'll look different.
yeah, it's going to be so
Putting a lot of pressure on my timeline here.
All right. I'm saying within 45 minutes, before the show's over, it'll be redesigned. If it's
Nice. I guess we'll have to fade to black.
Okay.
So does she do
yeah.
home? Like, is it residential? Is it primary commercial?
Both.
Cool.
Yeah. She does all of it. So
It's good to have people with those eyes because I don't.
Well, we had her on the show about 3 weeks ago, and there's a whole lot more to it than just saying, "No, that looks good with the ottoman." It's very difficult, and there's a lot of education that goes into it, and she and Taylor at some future unnamed date are going to have this place redesigned.
That's better.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Last time onto the show. Last time I think I unfortunately mischaracterized your position on the EMT situation. So why don't you explain it in your own words so I won't goof it up?
Well, it was not that I did not support our Burleson Fire Department and their interest in exploring taking on the ambulatory transport services. But I did have a lot of questions, and I feel like that's my duty as a council person. We need to fully vet any service increases and primarily ensure that whatever we're committing our citizens to financially for years and years and years to come should be thoroughly vetted. I had a lot of questions. I wanted to ensure that we were looking out for our employees, current and future. We are adding to our firefighter staff. We added 6 positions just for this service increase. And we added 3 dispatching positions. There was a lot to look into, and there were numbers behind all of those. And while we're able to get a start with ARPA funds that are currently available, those will roll off, and then it will be fully on the citizens to support this service. We were making a transition from our current provider is MedStar, and the citizens of Burleson do not supplement MedStar. If you are a patient of MedStar, then you receive a bill from MedStar.
Oh, do you? I had a nice little ride in an ambulance about 5 years ago, and got the bill. And like, my God, did I take a limousine?
Right.
It was expensive.
And now that responsibility will fall to us. The billing, the providing of all of the services, the additional staff that it's going to take, and additional trainings. Right now our dispatchers roll those calls over to MedStar once it's determined that a transport is needed. And there's a lot more in-depth questions that have to take place, and walking through CPR. There's so many things that may need to take place in any particular phone call that we can't anticipate. And so a lot more training goes into those dispatch calls. Do I have the utmost faith in our fire department? Yes. Do I have tremendous faith in our dispatching services? Yes. But it still needed to be fully vetted and every option explored before we made a leap like this.
And somebody had to ask the questions, right?
Yeah.
Somebody has to.
Someone has to. And I was elected to do that. Any time we're going to consider impacts to our budget, impacts to our service, impacts to our current employees and future employees, everything, we need to unsurface everything. Let's really comb through this and make sure that we're making the best decisions. Ultimately, I came to the conclusion that based on how we're growing, particularly out toward the west, we're growing out toward 121, and looking at the way MedStars, how they provide their service, I feared going forward as we grow that the response times and things would be significantly compromised. And while I honestly, in my heart, I knew, and I believe I even voiced this on a past show of yours, that somewhere down the line, I believed like within the next 10 years, we were going to make that transition. I just didn't know if right now was the best call. So I just had a lot of questions, and I wanted to make sure there wasn't any stone left unturned.
Well, Otto says, hey, I think Otto agrees with you. He says, hey.
Thank you. And hey, Otto. But I just, we have a responsibility in particular to how we commit ourselves financially. And while we are always working to diversify our tax base, the predominant amount of taxes come from property taxes. And so a service that we didn't currently put on the backs of property owners will soon be part of everybody's. We're all going to be contributing to that through our fire department. Do I believe that they're going to provide a tremendous service? Yes. Do I think we're putting the right people in place? But I wanted to make sure we were taking care of our employees and looking forward. I've worked for a hospital, and I've worked in social services. And so, I worried about what are we going to do when you have those frequent flyers. There's all of these new things that we're going to be faced with. And I had a lot of conversations, not only with our fire department, our fire chief and assistant chiefs, but all of those that are riding on future ambulances and in our current squad units. But I also had conversations with surrounding departments that took this in-house, or those that haven't yet but are considering it. I did a lot of homework, and it was something that I spent a lot of time in. I just thoroughly wanted to make sure we vetted that. I was not against any saying that our fire department couldn't take this on, but I just wanted to make sure every aspect of this was thoroughly vetted, and that's my responsibility as an elected official.
Absolutely. Like I said, somebody has to ask the questions, and I appreciate the fact that you do, because not everybody, will take that kind of time to do that kind of homework. They'll just have a knee-jerk reaction to it or whatever else. Either they think it's great or terrible, whatever, without even really giving it any thought. But at the end of the day, once you had your questions answered, you voted for this.
I did. I ultimately supported it. As I knew, like I said, this was something I saw coming. If it wasn't now, when was it? And then I had to weigh all of that. Okay, well, what is the future? What's the expense, or what is it potentially going to cost us more if we put it off? There's an opportunity right now with ARPA funds. All of this had to be weighed, but also with the understanding that it is going to be our responsibility in the future. And to kind of piggyback on that, last night we amended our budget for the 22-23 year to increase pay, for public servants, for our police and our fire, and looking at an additional stipend for those that decide to pursue paramedic, because we obviously want to have as many paramedics on staff as we can. Yes, sir.
Jackie Jones
is
asking, will citizens be charged for ambulance rides?
Yes.
Do you have any idea how much?
Not yet. We still need to look through the billing services, but yes. So if you receive a ride, you will receive a bill.
Hopefully not the same bill that I got.
But you know that there are, we're trying to explore all different types of options. Care Flight for a while we had their helicopter service in Johnson County for a while, and you could, it was like something like $10 a year, and you could get covered, so there are membership plans. We're going to have to explore all of that. There's a lot of policy decisions that have yet to be made. And that was also some of my concern. Like, do we fully understand the policy decisions we're going to need to make to ensure that our citizens receive the best care possible and that they aren't sticker shocked because they needed that service? When you call 911, it's not the best day of your life. And, you say you've had to, over the last 5 years, taken an ambulance ride. Well, in just the last year, I've taken 3. So, I have a anaphylactic allergy, and and so I've already jokingly asked if I get a punch card, 6th ride free or something. But because our fire department has taken tremendous care of me, as did MedStar. I was treated very well and very thoroughly, and I was so appreciative of everyone's care. And that's what, I also heard out those firefighters that serve with us. A lot of them are homegrown and people that are invested in this community. And ultimately, I knew that that I believe that they're going to provide the best service that they can. But I also didn't want to diminish the long-time relationship that we've had with MedStar. And a lot of MedStar employees live in our community. One of my very dear friends is a paramedic with MedStar, and he's phenomenal.
I believe we know him. Is it Kevin White?
Oh, I do know Kevin, but I was thinking about a buddy I've known for 20, 30 years. Well,
I have that insurance, or so to speak.
Right.
So when I got the bill, and then we had my wife, who's very good at dealing with these kind of people, got on the phone and straightened them out.
Sure.
And it cost me about $50.
Wow.
Now, is it possible for the city to have some sort of prepaid plan?
I'm sure we're going to explore all of that because we don't want. We're there to provide a service to our citizens. We are not there to gouge them. This isn't about making money. It's about making our community safer, healthier, and receiving the best service that they possibly can.
What was the motivation to change from MedStar to a city service like this?
Well, as I mentioned, I think response times was a significant thing that they were looking at. MedStar serves Fort Worth and some surrounding cities. We were their second largest populated city that they serve, and but if calls are, they have algorithms and they determine, how many trucks need to be. They look back over the years and trends, and they determine how many trucks need to be out and in what areas. And while they do their best to station 1, potentially 2 in Burleson, it may not be there all the time. These will be ambulances that are in our unit as part of our fire departments. That's their trucks, and they're going to, be able to respond. They believe, and we do as well, that the response times will be faster, and they'll also have that community. Sometimes, MedStar's coming from, the north end of Fort Worth. They may not know, we have some of these funny streets where it's like north and south, or this is Court and this is da-da-da. And so while GPS systems can take us so far, some of that institutional knowledge will be a tremendous benefit. So relationships, response times, the care that I believe our fire department's going to be able to bring us.
And they supported this, right?
Immensely.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And that was Dan's point. He said, if they came out this strong, I just truly believe that's where he was, what was really encouraging him to make that, to give them that support. And ultimately, I felt that as well, because I know the hearts of our fire department and our police department. I just have the utmost respect for both of those, all of our public servants. And I know that our citizens will be well taken care of. And we'll still have these partnerships with Crowley or Rendon and partnering cities, so that in the event that all 4 of our units are out on calls, we have partnerships to where we can get backup and things like that.
Yeah. Well, and I kind of had the idea that that this would be a big added expense to the city.
It is a big expense.
But when I started looking at it more closely after all this had taken care of, I said, I'd really rather have this in-house than be reliant on a third party or some outside contractor. I'm not really big on the city or the school contracting a lot of its services out to other people because you're reliant upon other people. Sure. But
it was innovative at a time, really forward thinking of the agreement was over 25 years old or something like that. It was really innovative. It wasn't a service that we could take on then. You have to think, we just recently celebrated the retirement of a firefighter who's been with us for over since 87. He started as a volunteer firefighter and eventually became one of our paid. And so you think about how far our departments come and the services and the evolution of it. But that was also things that we had to look at in the evolution of EMT and paramedic transport. Eventually I think it'll be a lot more than just our firefighters being paramedics. Eventually way down the line, I suspect we're going to have more nurse practitioners potentially, and doing more house calls. What can we treat in homes versus taking them into the hospital? I think about those calls that I've had to make. I need a Benadryl and a steroid shot. Eventually I would like to not have to accumulate a $10,000 plus ER bill just because I needed to go in to get those 2 shots, and then they watch me for an hour to make sure my swelling goes down and I'm able to breathe normal again, and then they just release me.
well, don't worry. When Bernie is president, he'll take care of that.
Ouch.
I had to throw that in there.
Of course.
Anyway, my son's a big Bernie guy. I'm like,
is he?
Oh, yeah. See, all these.
We are just going to have to rethink healthcare in this nation. I don't know what that looks like, but it can't. We can't use ER as our primary care, and these standalone ERs, they're expensive. And then if you need to transport out of there, that's another additional expense that somebody may not anticipate. And there's a lot to healthcare. It's way over my pay grade. But
well, when you become a member of Congress or senator, you can do this. Senator
maybe
Johnson.
One day.
Yeah. Who knows?
Who knows?
Well, now, does the city have any kind of like health service? I know the county obviously does, but does the city have like medical staff to deal with medical issues
we don't.
for the citizens?
It's something that not necessarily for the citizens, but something we explored this year for employees, having those like partnership clinics where they really vetted, partnership opportunities with local physician offices. And I think they explored 1 or 2, and it just didn't financially make sense for those, like I have a cold, I woke up with the flu. You just need that prescription call in and easy checkups and things, but I don't think financially it made sense. But our HR department did fully vet, opportunities like that. We're going to continue evolving in that way. People want that concierge care. How can I get this or this knocked out because it's the common cold, especially those of us with kids. I mean,
right.
We have the sniffles and something about every other week.
Strep throat is what got my kids a lot.
Oh.
They just passed it back and forth.
My daughter brings it home to my husband. I've never, fortunately, had it. I hope I don't.
Either.
But
You eat your tonsils out when you were a kid?
No.
Well, see, that's why they say I don't get it. But my wife did and my kids did. And it was like, whose turn is it this time? and it was a beating. But
all we do is spread germs.
But as we get larger, all these other things are going to be considered.
They will.
We may end up, 20 years from now having medical personnel on the city payroll to deal with citizens.
Well, I think that's that's what I was trying to look ahead and think, if we take on a service like that, what does it look like in the future? Because this isn't just making a decision for tomorrow. It's making a decision for 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And so it's not something that we can just turn a switch off on. Once we made this investment of the units and the training and the additional staff, it was a big commitment, and I just wanted to make sure it was thoroughly vetted, and that's what I believe I was put in this seat to do.
Well, there is a clinic that's opened up in the spring over off Haskew, which is right on the corner of the First Baptist Church parking lot. It's not a clinic for like Medicaid patients. It's a clinic for those that have jobs but don't have insurance.
Sure, like cash pay.
Yes. They may work at a job that doesn't provide insurance, a small little business or something like that.
Yeah. Well, Texas is number 1 in uninsured.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, they're swamped.
Yeah, they are.
I have a couple of friends that work there as volunteers. Retired pharmacist, another lady that works with the patients, the clients. and they are overbooked. And so they could double that space. It's a very small space. It used to be originally what our church used for Promises, which is now on Renfro. All right, but this is the original building in.
Oh, so they took over the original. Promises building. I was wondering what was going on over there.
Yes, and it's they don't have to lack for customers. And I just wanted at one point, we could have something like that, either at the city level or something like that. And I bet we will sooner or later. Maybe not tomorrow or next year, but we're going to get big enough that we're going to probably be needing that because, like you were talking about, the healthcare issue is a really big problem.
It is.
It's not just expensive, but it's non-existent for some people.
For some people, it is.
And like you're talking about going to ER, that's the only option. I have some students at Hill that they tell me what they have to do.
Sure.
And these aren't 19-year-old kids who are still living at home. They're still on their parents' insurance or something like that. I'm talking about a lot of my single mothers students or maybe young family students, and they just don't have
their jobs
access.
Don't provide health care.
Well, they work in a small place.
Yeah.
They're not working for a big employer or something.
And it's, what starts out as like a cough or a common cold, then, we prolong things. It turns into pneumonia and a lot more expensive versus if we could just treat it on the front end. So.
Right. But I was talking to the mayor about that before, and he said, well, someday. But, obviously, right now, I'm sure you got more immediate things to deal with, but it's coming. And, I think our attitudes about public provision of these kind of services are going to have to be adjusted somewhat. The private sector, as great as it is, and I'm Mr. Capitalist on that, but it doesn't provide everything for everybody that's often needed. So there you are. But that's my political comment for the day. But but you also did some other city business last night with the parks. I know that's an important subject for you. You really, that's your thing, your
that is
groove,
my thing.
Your jam.
Public spaces and parks and where people can gather and play with their children and spend time together, have family reunions. I'm passionate about parks, and I love I'm not an outdoorsy girl, but I love our trails. I love riding the bikes with the kids, and it's about spending time together and doing something that's away from a screen. And I think
that's a good thing right
there. We're
there.
really investing, or we have a capital improvement plan for our parks, and some of them are getting refurbished. We recently reopened Clark Park, for example, the one that's next to Old South, and redid that one. And it's really pretty and such a big hit. It has different play equipment from any other park that we currently have.
I did notice that because I go to Mambo some. As far as pancakes and whatnot, I go to our place on Allsbury and the Highway.
I understand.
But but anyway, you were telling me about a really interesting park over in Oak Valley. How y'all renovated?
So we're going. So every year we look at a couple of parks and we budget to refurbish and redesign some of them that have been. Oak Valley North Park has had that same equipment for a lot of years. And so it was time for an upgrade. And if I don't know, it's probably been a while since you played out there, but
yes.
just the grounds to it needed to be freshened up, and the play equipment, it was just time. And so we planned for that and the Elk Ridge Park to be replaced in the next couple of months. And so council approved the two that we've really focused on involving the public more in making decisions that are going to affect where they're playing, where their play space is, where their walking space is, and things like that. And so citizens voted, and we had great responses to both of those park surveys. And so they were asked, what kind of amenities do you want to see? And then drawings were created, and people voted what ultimately they'd like to see out there. And so Oak Valley will be transitioned into a all abilities park. It will have a like the soft kind of
like a rubber surface.
Yep, that surfacing versus the wood chips, the rubberized wood chips, and so they're easier for wheelchairs and other mobility assistant devices to get onto. We'll have swings that have harnesses, and also a mother and child swing. Those are honestly my favorite because I can look at my kiddo and swing myself because I like to swing. A merry-go-round that you sit in, and all of those are wonderful contributions to our whole park system, but we need more things that everyone can be included in. My daughter, one of her very best friends, is in a wheelchair, and she gets heartbroken when it's something that her friend can't be included in, and she wants to understand why. And we want to be inclusive. We want everyone to be able to play with all their kids at any age at the parks and enjoy that outdoor space. And so I'm very appreciative of our parks board, the volunteers that serve on it and helped steer those decisions. They heard loud and clear from the community that they wanted more accessible equipment for everyone to be able to enjoy. And then council supported that last night. So Oak Valley will be in the near future having some improvements that include some really cool equipment. And then also Elk Ridge, it was kind of funny. I went on a park tour.
Where exactly is Elk Ridge for those who aren't familiar?
Elk Ridge it's near BHS, and it's in one of the neighborhoods kind of behind it.
I know where it is. I just, some people may not.
There isn't parking to it because it's really like a pocket neighborhood park, but it has a great piece of land, and there was the tiniest piece of equipment on it. And so it's going to be really nice to give that an upgrade. We'll have sensory play stuff, and just the community picked out really neat equipment to go out there.
Yes, and Catherine Redding gives her high approval marks for that. So,
awesome.
And it's honestly, it's necessary. I mean, I can see almost a look in your daughter's face. A lot of these kids that go to school with disabled children have a real heart for them, and they want them to be included. They want them, they don't want to see them sitting by themselves or whatnot.
And we should all, it's not even just about the children, right? You think about how many grandparents take their grandkids and they can't get up,
I'm getting there. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
The wood chips and things can be very unstable. The rocks, the paver stones that surround Oak Valley Park are all wiggly. My kids love to walk along them, and I'm so afraid they're going to twist an ankle falling off of them. And so it's time for improvements, and we appropriately budget for so many every year. We grow and we try to make those improvements along the way and be responsible with our dollars. But those are 4B funded. Those funds come from a half-cent sales tax that's
I was going to ask that next question, but there you are.
Yep. So 4B is for park improvements, and so that's where we're directing those funds to make those improvements. And we have a great park system, but it can be better, and we want it to be for everyone.
It really is. When I moved here many years ago, Warren Park was it. It was it.
And that is truly considered like our community, our big park, and it's not even that big. It is packed all the time. The parking lot is full. Those tennis courts are always taken. The basketball courts are always taken.
And they weren't there when I first moved here. The only thing they had was a teeter-totter and a merry-go-round that was rusted metal. Seriously, you could get tetanus
they
from
had
it.
those back then?
Sure.
Yes, thank you. They're made of stone, kind of like in Flintstones. We had to paddle with our feet. And then, a swing set and, with rusted chains. It was,
that you get pinched by.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I was really hesitant taking my kids there because I honestly thought, that it could hurt. And now obviously they've upgraded that park and all the other parks, and it's been one of the best things about it. And, is Mayor Vera Calvin Plaza considered a park?
It is a public space. It is not a park.
Okay, but
it is a public gathering space.
It's handled differently than a park.
It's maintained the same way that our park. We have a staff person actually specifically assigned to it because it's popular and so we want to keep it nice, and it's a great gathering space. I see kids playing soccer there, throwing baseball, throwing footballs. Of course, the concerts that take place there. And last Saturday we had an awesome concert.
Who was it?
The Selena tribute band. It was called Selena Forever, and it was thoroughly, and it just brought so much joy to my heart. My mom is Hispanic. I'm half Mexican, and I'm very proud of the Hispanic heritage and culture that I was able to be raised with. And it was fun to share that with my kids, to share that with my community, to share that with family and friends. It was just, we had a blast, danced our feet off and sang at the top of my lungs and took lots of pictures. And it was just, it was a great time. But Mayor Vera Calvin Plaza is a phenomenal asset to our community.
It really is. I think it's an underrated asset almost, because I know when Ken and others were putting it together, there was some pushback on it. And like, what's the matter with you guys?
To have that
You
vision.
need something like this for a town.
I truly commend the previous councils for having vision and for thinking ahead. And I'm doing my best. I'm not always the best at, picturing. I'm so tangible. Like I need to see it right in front of me. But I'm working on that, and I'm greatly appreciative of the colleagues that I'm able to work alongside, and hopefully we can continue to make decisions like that.
Well, I'm getting a question from Bill Janish. Park renovations truly do need bathrooms. The costs seem reasonable. Oops, I didn't fade it on me here. Seem reasonable enough to include them from now on. Is that possible?
We're going to talk about it. And I was each time we do those surveys, people tell us what amenities they want to see, and over we see restrooms. As a mom of littles, inevitably, when I get somewhere, what do they have to do? Potty. And I love riding our bikes, or I used to push the strollers down there, but my fear was always, if we have to go potty, we're doomed.
Not if you're a boy.
Well, myself and my daughter, not in the same category. Nor do I want to be that council member whose child was seen peeing on a tree.
I guess it makes sense. You never know.
But I know it's a simple amenity that I feel like we should definitely consider. I believe it was quoted about $100,000 for a single stall family restroom. That's what our parks director said off the cuff last night. And I was appreciative of Dan bringing up, if this is a continuous request that we see every single time on a survey, then much like we have been respectful and responsive to the all accessible equipment and having sidewalks to it and parking, expanding parking and things. If we're responding to these other things, we equally need to respond to the request of restrooms. And so he asked that it be, up for further discussion. And I think going forward, it will be something that's just kind of like with every project that we do, we learn something new and we take something new under consideration. And so we can only get bigger and better from here.
And I think that is, of all the things we've improved on as a community, besides the economic community, I'm talking about the public spaces and things, talk about the parks have really been tremendously upgraded, and they are a big amenity for the community.
They are.
A lot of people when they move here, they want to have these things in their community.
They do. They want the spaces to do things as family, as friends. And I think about, I have a neighbor who's always on the chat, hey, he loves to play tennis and he doesn't have any friends locally. He's like, does anyone want to play tennis with me? And how fun that you create these networks. I met a couple weeks ago, we had dogs and donuts at the dog park. And I met a number of people that say, oh, we have a group that meets here every Tuesday evening with our dogs. And, people, that's about building community. You get to know your neighbors. And whenever I hear those comments about, oh, we're growing too fast or we're getting too big. What makes us keep that small town feel is getting to know our neighbors and doing things as a community and coming together and supporting one another. And we can do that in public spaces.
Well, this brings up a more serious topic, though, because we are a growing community. We're experiencing the things that every growing community has. And we've, and I talked to your colleagues on the council, and I talked to the mayor, and we talk about infrastructure and streets and whatever else. But what also comes with the growing town, or shall we say problems that are more seen in the urban areas. And I know at the end of the meeting last night, he talked about homeless issues. I didn't hear that comment, so I can't say exactly what he said, but I know what he said on my show.
Sure.
And he has concerns. Is this a concern for him or for the whole council?
Well, first I will say, as a body, our authority, as far as that goes, we have the authority over public spaces and how we manage them. Are there curfews? Are parks open and close at a certain time? Do our public restrooms open and close at a certain time? Our authority is about managing public spaces. And so as far as that goes, it's not, I think we're going to have to.
It's an issue going to be addressed.
Right. It is an issue as far as, what do we do? Where do we have the authority and what can we do with that authority? But it's honestly above us. It's not illegal to be homeless. And what we can do is be a good neighbor. And I think it comes down to there's a line between what the government, what we as a elected body can do, what our authority is, and where it then goes into social services and where we can be an ally to the churches, to the nonprofits in our community that are providing certain services. And, to whom much is given, much is expected, right? And
Right.
so I just think of it as it's personally, I am called to share my time, my talent, my treasure, my knowledge, and that's resources and pointing people who are looking for help to the appropriate places and helping those without judgment who need it. You know, if it's providing a meal, then so be it. I've heard this homily a number of years ago of it's not my place to ask, you know, why someone needs help, what got them in this position. It's just my place to help how and in whatever way I can. And that's my part, to love my neighbor, to take care of my neighbor, share a hot meal when it's appropriate. You know, the First United Methodist Church every Saturday evening cooks a hot meal, and anyone is welcome to go there and eat it. And if you want to stay for the service after, then you're welcome to do that as well. But we're blessed in our community with great resources, and I believe we have such a tremendous heart for helping each other, helping those in need. And you know, just a couple weeks ago at a council meeting, I recognized our victim services department with our police department. When they are notified of someone, you know, I had received a couple of calls about a person who may have been passing through town who looked like they needed some help. And even I stopped myself a number of times and offered to bring her water or food or connect her with any services. And our police department went above and beyond, as they do in so many instances that we may not even be aware of. And that's not their goal, is to advertise, you know, when they do what they do, but they helped connect this woman with resources, and they got her back in contact with her family, and she's safe and she's cared for again. And that's wonderful. But it's about, I think, what we can do is connect people with resources and share that knowledge and information as we have it. I don't know what issues may come before us, but you know, it's really, we got to stay in our lane and be careful about where we extend ourselves, because the authority only goes so far at our level. And then next is the state legislature. And then after that comes higher. And so
like I said, I didn't hear the comments of the mayor, so I'm not going to characterize them or paraphrase them or anything like that, because I'd probably mess that one up too, like I did before. But I do know that a lot of people, myself included, but a lot of people are conflicted because they want to do the Christian compassionate thing, but they also are concerned about creating a situation where more and more come down, to the situation.
We don't have public transportation in our community. We don't have a lot of the infrastructure that would necessarily bring this large community, that the perception. I mean, there have always been homeless people in our town. I remember riding the school bus and seeing the same gentleman that would, be doing X, Y, or Z. And I don't know if he had a home, but it's also not my place to question that. It's not illegal to be homeless. And even maybe they have a home, but maybe they don't have food at their home. There's different needs, and people are of different circumstances, whether it's mental health issues. It's truly embarrassing to me how many people who've served in our country and are homeless or are living paycheck to paycheck. There's a lot that should be addressed, but it's at a legislative higher level than what we're able to address.
Well, you go to Fort Worth, and I just came back from Oklahoma City, and it's more prevalent now than it's been before. We see around 1187. I saw it last time we talked about this with the mayor, saw it on the corner of Alsbury and Renfro, people with signs. And that honestly is a new experience for Burleson.
Yep.
You're right. We've always had homeless, but it was not like it was more of a private matter than anything else. Now it's become a public issue. And again, you get people that want to do the right thing, but it's hard because you don't want to enable certain types of conduct. But on the other hand, you don't want to turn them away because you don't know who's really in need. And so it's hard to call. I just say
we are blessed in our community with a lot of great resources. We have community promises. We have, and they do everything from food. Their food bank is phenomenal. And they have counseling services. I say, even if it's not, sometimes it's not just sharing your treasure, it's sharing what you know and saying, have you, I don't know your circumstances, but I will say, like, have you heard of this particular organization? They might be able to, connect you with family or provide you with some resources, or, it's not always giving money or food, but helping just connect with resources. Because if you're not in the know, you may not be aware, and if somebody's living on the streets or living, with family members or bouncing from friend to friend house, they may not be aware of the resources that are right here and available to them.
Well, we are very fortunate, and I'm very fortunate to be in this position as this podcast. My humble podcast is able to put a lot of these nonprofits on the show. And, Jennifer Woods over at Harvest House, and then the people at Promises, and then the people at Next Step, and they all work together.
Yes.
I had them on the show about a month ago.
I saw.
Yeah, and that was a fun show.
It was a great show.
Having those ladies, they were all friends, and they all knew each other well, and they all cross-supported each other. It's a hard issue because your heart and your mind are in conflict. At least they should be, in a sense. If you don't have a heart for these homeless people, then you're a tougher guy than I am, because it is sad to see these people standing there with signs. But, then you have the situation, a lot of people in their thoughts say, well, if I give him $5, is he going to use it for food, or is he going to use it for alcohol?
But that's this homily that I heard a couple years ago. That's not my place to wonder that.
Okay, that's fine.
I provide my time, my talent, my treasure. I help where I can, when I can. I give them a prayer and I move on. And I connect people. It's above everything. I believe my position in this community is as a connector, and putting people with resources, connecting people that can help. It may be as simple as just understanding what exists and what doesn't. But sometimes people just don't. I know when I called the police chief about that individual that I had come in contact with a couple of times, he helped remind me, like, look, some people, this is a choice, and in some cases it may not be their personal choice. But all we can do is do our best to connect them with resources and help them where it is appropriate, point them in the right direction, and help where we can. And what we're called to do is just love our neighbor, not judge, not ask questions, help with whatever in whatever capacity that may be.
For a time, my wife carried a little bag almost of like bottled water, crackers, food, whatever. And that, she does that a lot. She still does
that's
it.
Phenomenal.
And she'll see somebody and she'll give them that. Now, was that, a wasted gesture? I guess that's in the hands of the Almighty, not my wife and whatnot. And
I don't think any amount of kindness is ever wasted.
Well, on her part, it wouldn't be. But I mean, I'm talking about, would that gift be appropriately used as it was intended? If you give somebody a couple of bucks, will they use that to buy food? And and I guess what you're saying, and I agree 100%, that's really not the issue. Because that's if he or she misuses your gift, that's on them. If you refuse because of whatever reason, then you're going to have to ask for it. Now, it's hard to help everybody you see all the time.
Right. But it may not even be financially or with food. Maybe your way of helping is going down and doing a shift with your Community Promises food bank and handing out food, or passing along a little printed sheet of resources. Hey, did you know this food bank exists? This drive-through food bank. Did you know this place allows you to come in and take showers, or whatever it may be? It's, I think, ultimately what we're called to do is just help our neighbor. And I don't have all the answers as far as what to do with homeless or potentially homeless, but it's my place to share what I do have, and it may be of my time, it may be my talent, it may be my treasure, but that's what I was called to do, and that's what I'm gonna do.
Well, what about the city's response? We don't have a plan, do we? Or an action plan? Is that something to consider in the future?
That is what the mayor, I believe, was asking for last night is, can we put together some information? And so the staff's going to come back and say, I mean, I don't know what that even will look like. I don't know what is our appropriate role in this, but I do know as of right now, the only authority we have is to determine how public spaces are used and public resources, and how to ensure that our streets are safe with police and fire and future transportation service for healthcare, and that's really what's in our purview, and that's what we need to be focused on.
Well, Bill Janish has a fairly lengthy comment. I'll just summarize it, that it shouldn't really even be a political decision or question at all, that this is just the part of having compassion as a community and as individuals.
100%.
I hope I paraphrase that right, Bill, but
I agree with him.
It's a tough issue. It really is. But it's an issue we're going to have to deal with. And I agree with your points. I guess, I wanted you to have the opportunity to say that, be able to express your compassion for the situation.
I do.
And with the understanding that we don't have an answer, a magic wand.
I'm not going to have all the answers, and I don't have a magic wand. And and sometimes, if I don't have cash or I don't have the ability, sometimes all I'm doing is lifting them up in prayer, and who knows what volumes that speaks in that person's life. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes just sharing a smile and acknowledging a person as a human and saying, hi, I see you. I don't know what your situation is, but know that you're in my thoughts, and I am wishing you the very best, that you get connected with the resources that you need to. I'm going to say a prayer for you as I drive away, but know that you're seen and you're valued as a human being. And that's sometimes all we're asking for.
Well, you spoke on it very well. I'm glad we had this conversation, because it's been on my heart as well, because of the conflict you have between wanting to provide a safe community, because sometimes these people can be mentally ill or dangerous.
There's so much that we don't know that somebody is being faced with.
Right. But you don't want to shut off the compassion.
Right. And that's what I'm so appreciative of our police department, and having that victims, I know I'm saying it wrong. We have a victims unit, and the person who works in it is Miss Stephanie Beard, and the heart she has. And we are so fortunate in our PD, in our dispatch, in our fire. Like, we have people with heart, people all over our city that just have so much compassion. And, our Parks and Rec department, they took staff and they went and volunteered at the Harvest House, and they've, done things with the Center for ASD. And, it's about taking care of our neighbors and doing what we can.
Well, we're out of time, I'm afraid. You really, when you get passionate on something, the time flies.
And I'm passionate.
Yes, you are. And every topic. Parks.
Parks.
Yes.
People.
Yes.
I love my community. I love children. I love elderly. I mean,
the dogs, I hope.
I love the dogs.
Okay, good. So
I was very proud of us for finally opening a dog park.
Yes.
And it is a hit. It is always crowded, and the cute little community that's there. I love this town, and I got on council to serve, and that's what I pray for myself, is that I always remember to have a servant's heart and just leave this place better than I found it.
You have. You have. In the 2 years you've been on there, you've made your mark. Absolutely.
Oh, I hope so.
Well, just by bringing this perspective, you made your mark, but also what you've done with the parks, how you took the citizens' interest or at heart when you talked about the EMT thing. You've made your mark, and you will continue to do so. I'm glad you have at least another year and change left.
I do.
And then after that,
who knows?
No, I know you're going to run again, and you're going to win, even if we have to use certain methods already been perfected by others.
Oh, that's dirty. We're not doing that. I will work my tail off just like I did the first time, and shake all the hands and kiss all the babies, and work for those votes.
You caught that reference, did you? Oh, my.
I love serving, and I'm just appreciative of the opportunity.
Well, I promise you're going to get all the opportunities you want. And we'll have to figure out a time, because the next time you're scheduled more or less is going to be around the holidays. So we need to kind of figure something out.
We will. I'll be back.
I appreciate it.
I always enjoy visiting with you. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem.
And thank you to everyone who is watching and submitting comments or questions. And I just genuinely appreciate the citizen input always. And don't hesitate to call me. My cell phone's listed on the website. Text me, email me. We're available. I want to hear from you.
And there's I forgot one. Janet Pollock Farmer says good morning.
Hi, Janet.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for showing up. Come back on Thursday when we talk with representatives from BISD.
Awesome.
And you have questions, send them here. And keep doing the good work you're doing.
Thanks, Mr. Allard. Appreciate you.
Sure. Bye-bye.